I've never seen my parents using account to account. They just scratch their head and they just, no, I'm just going to use my card. That's it. They do not realize that the merchant is paying in the end. And some of the answers were, yeah, we are beating the system. It's quicker. So what is happening with this, with the stablecoin? There's a whole new banking system being created beside of the traditional banking rails.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fintech Garden podcast. I'm Dumitru Condrea, founder for NovaFin and co-founder for Fintech Garden. And I have today with me a very strong professional, a person who knows a lot about transactions, a lot about how the old things can be reshaped and rebuilt in new approaches. Mr. Johannes Kolbeinsson, welcome and hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Very often you are present at different big conferences regarding fintech. And we had one of our last discussion was at Money 2020 in Amsterdam this year. And during that, and also in discussion I heard you had with different other people, you mentioned something very interesting thing. Even if account to account has been evolving for 5 years, it's already overreached. Why? And that pay bank is coming for cash, not for cards. Why do you think this is happening when Visa and Mastercard, when we have Visa, Mastercard, we have credit cards, we have so many integrations, Apple, Google Pay, a lot of alternative payment methods. Why people and companies itself, financial companies, are looking back to account rails?
I'm not sure. So the account-to-account payments is following PSD2, and there's some opening for EMIs and PIs to provide some banking services, but it's still complicated. When you go into make a payment through for account-to-account payment, if you make a payment on a website, then it's still 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. While the card payments, they're just normally 1 step, and that's it. Maybe 2 steps if there's a 3D secure. But so the complications has prevented it to gain real traction. And then if you look at the wallets like Afterpay, and that makes it still even more easy, then it's really just hard for account-to-account payments to compete. Also, there's some limitations on how much providers can charge for it. That has made it a hard time for those who are inventing these solutions to get paid for their inventions. In general, these payment methods have been struggling. Maybe they're just too cheap for the technology that's behind it. And if that's the case, then security and other things are at risk. Well, a good test for new payment methods is it's the simpleness. Is it simple? And then if you do it, if you are maybe you're savvy on your phone, but do your kids use it, or do your parents use it? I mean, I've never seen my parents using account to account. They just scratch their head and they just, no, I'm just going to use my card. That's it. So changes take place. Every new developments are slow in fintech and financial services. When it's about handling your money, and it has to be safe, secured, something that you know and that you trust. Visa and Mastercard, actually, they just have a payment guarantee, and it's trusted. So it's difficult to compete with that.
Before we continue, a quick note from Dash Devs. On Fintech Garden, we often talk about the gap between a strong fintech idea and the infrastructure needed to actually launch it. That's exactly where Fintech Core by Dash Devs comes in. It gives banks, fintechs, and crypto fintech teams the core building blocks behind the product. Onboarding, account, ledger, payments, cards, integrations, compliance workflows, and back office. With Fintech Core, you ship faster than you would be building it yourself, and you keep more control than a rigid white label allows. Scan the code or tap the link in the description to book a fit call with our team and see what launching on Fintech Core would look like for your product.
I deliberately started the interview and discussion with you by saying that I'm not agree with you, because basically your statements and everything you're saying, and even right now what you said, is that account-to-account, it's overreached. They don't erode the MasterCard or Visa or American Express rails at all, which I have a little bit doubt, and I will not, I'm not so much agree with you, only because, and I made this intentionally, as I said, just to create a base for dialogue between two of us. I saw from my side that, for example, Visa and Mastercard are running different projects, different initiatives, like in the United Kingdom, when they were entering into account-to-account market. They want to make account-to-account as easy and smooth as a card-to-card transfer and payment. It's not overreach. It's like it arrived at the moment when everything seems to be stocked, but in the same time appears players, even big one like Visa, Mastercard, who are investing money to make it more seamless, to make it more simple. I honestly think that account-to-account has a future only because people, banks are tired to pay those intercharging fees. And I still believe in the future of this old product.
Yeah, but like you said it yourself so well that Visa and Mastercard are now investing in trying to make it simpler. If they succeed in making it simpler, then I believe that it has a chance. Currently, it's just too complicated. And what Visa and Mastercard and other card schemes have been doing well, of course, they charge for it, and nothing is free. But they also, that creates the ecosystem. So it enables them to invest in new development. If you cannot charge for it, like some of the account-to-account solutions that have gained traction in some countries, if you are not able to charge for it, then you don't have any income to invest in further development. So then you become stuck. Of course, both Visa and Mastercard are now investing a lot in Visa Direct and in Mastercard Money Send programs, where they're making it easier to send money across continents and across countries. And this is a little bit in competition with old banking systems and SWIFT systems and so on. And if they will be able to make that easier, they will profit there as well. And then, of course, they can be more efficient, but they still have to charge for it, and then they can create an income from it. And in the end, it has to be profitable, otherwise it is not sustainable. If it's losing money, then it will die. The account-to-account, they work in some countries. Some countries have picked it up. Yeah, in the end, the final competitor is cash. Account-to-account is converting cash into account-to-account rather than card payments. Same with Vero and Digital Euro and all these new methods that are coming up, which are quite interesting as well. They will not succeed unless the user experience will be good. If they will have simple usage and effective, then it works. Otherwise, it won't.
Well, basically, you just put everything on shelf. You put it perfectly and showed why the fintech industry is wrong about the accounts to accounts. Because you just like, hey, we have this issue, we have this issue. Maybe your parents will work on this, maybe your children, but currently that's not the reason. But you develop your business, you have very strong reputation in developing acquiring business. And from your acquiring seat, I'm still trying to show you another side of the story. So maybe you saw the numbers and you can share those numbers with us. Maybe you saw some trends in increasing the account-to-account transfers. Maybe you know some details inside that we don't know and we don't observe because you're an acquirer and you have raw data of transactions and not only.
I don't really have much numbers. We are, as Paystrax, we are an acquirer. We provide acquiring, mainly it's Visa, Mastercard, because that's the biggest demand. We have asked our merchants, okay, do you want to have account-to-account? Because we have some partnering companies that can provide that service as well, and we can incorporate it into our gateway and we can offer it. And they say, no, don't worry, we just keep with Visa, Mastercard, that's it. And that's like 90%. So that's the only data I have. We don't have any demand for it. Therefore I don't have any numbers as well.
If to speak about the cards, because this is Paystrax is doing mostly working with Visa, Mastercard. You just recently purchased a company called Nochex. So it gave a footprint in the United Kingdom. You have 6 offices, so quite a big presence in European Union or even on European continent. How long? 20 years in the business, I think, yes, for you, Johannes. You're in. And being as an acquirer, I think you maybe don't see the numbers for A2A, but you see how the card volumes are increasing. Maybe you see the trends where the card schemes are now starting to be very popular. Maybe you have, you have a picture, for example, that in some countries you observe that exists a growth for card usage. For example, in Europe somewhere or Middle East, wherever. But in our countries, you see that people started to use less cards, or they started to use cards with a different behavior. Also, we also take in consideration the fact that Visa, Mastercard now changed the policies, the fraud policies, and they started to invest quite a lot of money and forces into this. What do you see? What are the trends on card scheme market in Europe currently?
I still see that there's considerable growth. And as I mentioned earlier, the cash usage is that's the main competitor. So all these methods are converting cash. I think still the market for both Visa, Mastercard, and other payment methods is growing because a lot of things are better than cash. Of course, maybe not many agree with me on that, but and then cash will always exist. But if we look at the Nordic countries, if we look at, for example, Iceland, I think it's less than 1% cash in use. And if you have cash, then people look at you and where did you get that from? It's almost strange. It's so convenient to be cashless. So I think the trend will continue, but retail sales continue to grow. And of the retail sales, both card payments and, well, it's not any card payments anymore, it's wallet payments and alternative payments will gain market from cash. You mentioned developments in the card schemes to counter fraud and to put more stricter rules. That's probably an area where the card schemes are, well, they're taking a wrong direction. They're taking wrong steps because this is moving some volumes away from the cards, from Visa, Mastercard, where you have fraud rates on subscription payments, where maybe 80% of the frauds are actually friendly fraud. Friendly fraud is not friendly. It's when it's first-party fraud. If I make the transaction myself, and then later I say, no, this was a mistake. I don't want to make this, but I still did it. I did the transaction. But you have a way out by talking to a bank and you say, you claim this is a fraud. So if I say to the bank, no, this is a fraud. This was never supposed to happen and whatever. And the bank normally says, yeah, okay, whatever you say, and just sign this form and then you're good. You get the money back. So this friendly fraud is 80% of the fraud figures. And sometimes if you order a product and you get the product, but you still make a chargeback on it. This is where the card schemes are going into the wrong direction. Instead of addressing the friendly fraud, they're just addressing the whole fraud, and they're putting strict measures and putting new fines or assessment fees on it. And this volume is now going into other alternative payment methods and is actually building a stronger case with other alternative payment methods. Account to account can be very useful there, where you don't have a possibility to do a chargeback or a fraud registration. Of course, there's less consumer protection, but when the card schemes allow for the friendly fraud is actually just misuse of consumer protection. This misuse is causing a lot of losses. But if you say that Netflix is a fraudulent company, well, they have 2.5% fraud. Or Amazon, they're a fraudulent company. They have 10, 11% fraud. But most of this is friendly fraud, where you actually receive the product, but you claim you didn't receive it, and then you get a refund. So this is something we actually did. So at Paystrax, we did a report. We did a market analysis in the UK. We assigned to a marketing company to call 1,000 cardholders in the UK, and we studied it. And we found out that the age group of below 30 years, they're starting to do it as a sport. They're starting to try to make a claim on the transaction, whether it's a subscription that you've subscribed for and you no longer want to be a subscriber to it, or you order a product and you receive it, and you still and you just try to register as a fraud. And probably you get it back, the money back, and then you profit it. When we asked, why do you do it? Some of the answers were that they do not realize that the merchant is paying in the end. And some of the answers were, yeah, we are beating the system. So the young people are beating the system. They are buying a product and still getting a chargeback or canceling a subscription by registering as a fraud, and thereby they feel they are beating the system. So this is actually a quite dangerous trend. This friendly fraud can actually be creating a generation of fraudsters, of friendly fraudsters, and which is probably not what is intended.
It just reminds the example you showed in the study 3, 4, or 5 years ago. I remember specifically in Scandinavian countries, in Sweden and Norway, people started to fight against gambling and gambling activities and iGaming activities. So the beginning sounded very, friendly. They just started they created communities online. They started to, identify different gambling and gaming sites. And what they did, they just they united in a front. So they just, in one single day, they were requesting chargebacks for the payments they made on those websites specifically. And this is why when 100, 200, 300 people in one single day started to request chargebacks from one specific website or a specific address or payment page, it raised a lot of concerns and alarms and alerts for Visa and Mastercard. In the beginning, the intention was really good. I mean, they understood how the system works. They understood that via chargebacks, refunds, they can destroy or at least fight against gambling and iGaming, which for them, it was a very good initiative. And they thought they're like Robin Hoods in the woods and, fighting with this. But at the end, it evolved. And when they finished to fight with gambling and iGaming activities, they started to make coordinated attacks on classical e-com websites that they deliberately choose to be attacked because they were not aligned with their cultural values. I don't know. For example, some of the owner of a business tried to prove that he's more a left-wing politician or left political views, and they were views with those guys. They had like right political views, and it was like, okay, they are not like me, and we'll fight them. We'll destroy his or her business. We saw that in Scandinavia, and specifically in Sweden, we saw a lot of cases where classical business, that e-com business or business who made not selling only digital goods but physical goods, and they tried to promote themselves on the internet, they were just crushed by these attacks. And sometimes what you call friendly fraud can be used against real business, the business who are trying to evolve and to catch the last car of the train called digitalization and so on. So I totally agree with you. And this can be a step for account to appear back, because I saw that Ideal in Netherlands started to be more popular last 2 years when it was. So we are returning back to 2015-16 when Ideal was also very popular. So I will agree with you. You're totally right. What other things do you think card schemes are doing wrong, as for example with fraud, with these new rules in fraud? Maybe exist some other things they're doing wrong and they just push the market and the people into account or other alternative payment methods.
There are many other ways to address the same problem. You don't have to. I think they're doing it completely wrong by just starting to penalize the merchants, and instead of addressing the problem, the actual problems, which is the friendly fraud. And the solutions can be like, if you have an iPhone, then and you have a subscription to an app, you could just go into the subscription section of the iPhone and you can unsubscribe. That's it, and then you won't pay the next fee. This is a way. Apple is doing this. The banks should be able to do the same. So if you have a subscription and it comes on your cardholder bill every month, the bank has a fraud button. So you can press the fraud button. You can register it as a fraud. Why don't they have an unsubscribe button next to it? So you can actually unsubscribe instead of accusing the merchant to be a fraudster. And it's just too easy. I can accuse you to be a fraudster and you don't have anything to say. You don't have a chance to defend yourself. And all of a sudden, the merchant looks like a fraudster, like Netflix does and Amazon. They look like fraudsters but if you accuse someone of being a fraudster, then you should at least have something in your hand. You should have a police report or something, because fraud is like criminal. The word means a criminal intent of fraud, of deceiving someone with a financial gain. That's what fraud is. And so maybe the card scheme, they should just change the usage of the name, because it's not, I cannot accuse you of fraud just by saying it. I can say, yeah, he's a fraudster, and then all of a sudden the whole system works against this guy because he's a fraudster. So there has to be some better ways to do this. There are many other ways. The merchants, they have to have a chance to defend themselves. This is not a fair system where you can just press a button and all of a sudden you're regarded as a fraudster. But what's happening now is that this volume is moving away from the card schemes and into the direction of alternative payments, and among else account to account, where there is, if you make a transaction, then the transaction is final. You cannot just revert it backwards because you have a change of mind. Or you, of course you can, then you just have to talk to the merchant that you, okay, I ordered this product, but I changed my mind. Can you cancel my order or something similar? Or the order was not received and you deal directly with it through the merchant. So the account-to-account payments, they don't have any such, normally they should be consumer protection. And this is one of the pluses of the Visa Mastercard systems.
At Paystrax, you just announced stablecoin, you have stablecoin settlements. And I was thinking, okay, you launched USDC stablecoin settlements, I know in 17 countries, jurisdictions. You tried to work also with crypto because crypto became, well, this is the case where regulation works good. I mean, when appeared MiCA, everybody understood how the crypto works and everybody started to feel safe to use crypto and so on. And I think that we are possibly not looking, all of us were a little bit wrong. We think that, some of us think that account to account is the future. Some of us thinking that the card to card is the future. But I have a feeling that because more and more acquirers are implementing stablecoin settlements, and because more and more people are having possibility to pay with crypto, and we start to see that crypto is more embedded into different payment pages, financial flows. At one moment, we will use crypto wallets and we'll pay everything with crypto wallets, like wallet to wallet system, and it will be easy. The rails already exist. We have even fiat to crypto, crypto to fiat cards, debit cards, even credit cards that we can use top-upping from our wallet. And I think maybe this is the future. What do you see as you as acquirer? What do you see? How do you see this trend? Maybe here we have to pay attention at.
Yeah, so this is very interesting, and I fully agree with you that the trend will move from wallet to wallet payments, but that's not so convenient for merchants because there needs to be reconciliation. There's a lot of things that are missing in that part, and for us to maybe first, every new development in payments takes time. So I don't think this will be changing in the next 1 or 2 years. Maybe we will see in 3 or 4 or 5 years whether stablecoin payments will become payment method for products or service. Currently, we're not seeing it. And I was last week in a Visa forum in Paris, and there was Visa is not seeing it. There's no payments being made with stablecoins or with crypto, almost none. People are using it to pay between themselves, to make international transfers, and I think that will happen much quicker. So what is happening with the stablecoins is quite interesting and actually quite amazing to see. There's a whole new banking system being created beside of the traditional banking rails. There's a whole new, if I'm paying you, I have to transfer you €1,000 for whatever reason. I can choose if I do it through my commercial bank and send it through SWIFT to you, or I can go to my wallet, which I have in my phone, and I can send it to you. And it takes me, the moment I press the button, you have received it. And it's stablecoin. So that part will happen much quicker. That will happen very quick. But the payments with crypto or stablecoins on point of sale, I think that will take a little longer time to evolve. So I'm not so sure that will happen. And again, you can tested. Do you know, have you done a payment with crypto?
I have done. I'm still, to be very honest, I'm one very active user of crypto payments. And for some of the customers, we implemented, even at Novafin, we implemented some crypto processing rails, which, by the way, is not a very hard thing to do. It's really easy. And it was done before even Mika were live. It was like, okay, we have almost no regulations.
Yeah, of course. And that's when things develop. Of course, now we're over-regulating this as we are doing with so many things. So the development will slow down considerably.
I'll be very honest. Today, it's very not so hard to implement it, to do it. So if you have a project, everything you have to do, and you don't have licenses, for example, everything you have to do is just to find a company that's ready to take you under that company umbrella. That's it. And because several years ago, where there was so many compliances and regulations in crypto, people just opened different MSBs around the world.
Yeah.
And now they just, what I have to do with this company, because they start to be strict regulated. And appear smart young guys, and not only young, that comes and say like, hey, I have an idea, I have money, I want to implement this. Can I use your company as an umbrella? And they do this legally, because this is legal. You sign an agreement. Possibly those guys are coming with, as a technical vendor, they come with a technical company, the code itself, the Rails itself. So yeah, it's still possible to do this, but yeah, it created a little bit of, sorry for interrupting you, but
this is exactly. But I see that you are in the industry, and I see that you are the type that is using and making payments. But how about your parents? Do they trade in stablecoins, or?
I just finished a 3 months training of how to use a card that can be topped up with crypto and to fiat. And it was very long story. I'm not sure of the results about this.
No, so I think it will take longer time. But if the user experience is good, if it's simple, if it's safe and you can trust it, then it will gain traction. So that's my prediction. It may take time to build this trust.
The last one, closing. You've been in the business for 20 years, more than 20 years. You saw cycles of business development. All the cycles are identical. The topics of the cycles are different. Just in which cycle we are now, and at which stage of the cycle we are currently in the fintech industry, in payment industry?
I think, quite interesting, because as I give you a little bit background, so I started our earlier company, Afterpay, in 2002. And then I started to go to conferences, and I was quite shocked. I went to a payment conference in Stockholm in, I think it was 2004 or 5. The payment business was quite upset, because at that time, the telecom companies were taking over payments. All the telecom companies were creating a payments arm, and they said, well, we are sending the invoices at the end of the month anyway. We can include all the purchase charges into the invoice and so on. So it was a shock. It was like, but this is like every conference has to have like a shock, something to attract people to come. And so every few years, there's a new type of shock similar. So there's been all kinds of new PSD1 first. That was another shock for many of the banks, that you have a new concept of EMI and PI. And then PSD2. And then, but now it's a little bit about payment sovereignty and about the geopolitical situations. Therefore, we also have digital euro, we have the Vero, we have new alternative payment methods coming up. I still think it's similar to what that the telecom companies are taking over payments. I think these will be additions, but in the end, there is so much development that has been, and investments that has been done into the customer experience, into consumer protection, into all these programs with Visa, Mastercard, so that I think they will still continue to grow very strongly. And payment sovereignty, I'm not convinced. I'm a shareholder. These are US companies. I'm a shareholder in these US companies. So it's not fully owned by US, it's owned by people. And the ecosystem in Europe, how many employees are working, how many people are working for Visa, Mastercard in one or the other way. In all the banks, the issuers, the acquirers, the payment service providers, all the different, even fintechs who are supporting it, who are processing the payments. So this whole ecosystem means that most of the income of the of this business stays in Europe. So I don't agree that this all goes to US and the US is just profiting from European payments. That's not correct. So I think this is, therefore, I think now, of course, Trump has all kinds of ideas all the time, and this has been mentioned, and Europe is now worried about the payment system located in the US, but and controlled from the US. But I think it's not so much of a danger. There's many solutions as well to solve this, rather than to create a new payment system that takes another 20 years to gain traction. So I don't know if I answered the question, but I think that's one of the big topics of the day. Of course, digital euros and digital currencies as well. I think they will also convert cash to digital cash. It will take time for people to gain trust in them, because all of a sudden you have a government issuing your cash, and they can, of course, they will never look into what you're doing. That's what they say, at least. But how much do you trust it? So that's another side of the coin. So
I honestly think that we are in the stage when we have the cycle. What we are now is tokenization transformation. I think we are moving. We are in this cycle.
Yeah.
Because PSD3, okay, nobody saw the original document of PSD3, but exist rumors that PSD3 will mitigate this topic. So I think we are in this cycle, and I think we just passed the cycle when it became already a burden and issue in how to solve it. So because of this, so we just passed the highest point, we are going a little bit down. I have an impression, I have a feeling that we are very, very close, and innovation will come into this tokenization market, tokenization technical field that will allow us to make everything very smoothly. As we spoke earlier, that even our parents will use the tokens every day without maybe even understanding that they are tokens. Well, to be honest, our parents are paying with Apple or Google Pay, which is already a token. But anyways, I think we are very close to a transformation to something that will change and reshape the market. Because as you said, the same thing happened when it was telecoms in 2004, 2006. The same thing happened in 2010. The same things happened with PSD2. So we are just arriving to some innovations, and we are still expecting a new shock is PSD3, which has to come very soon, and I hope it will appear. And to be my humble opinion is that PSD3 will appear together with European-based stablecoin, wherever it will be Euro C, let's see where it will go. Anyways, Johannes, thank you very much for this good discussion. At the beginning, we were a little bit more academical. We tried to put the definitions, but at the end, we had a very live discussion, and it was a very big. It's good. It's good because these topics, make us to share the best opinions, to share the best thoughts of ourselves, and by sure we have to shoot some episodes more about this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And for everyone else, please subscribe to Fintech Garden podcast on our social media platforms. Press like. Waiting for your comments, waiting for your suggestions. We are answering to all of them all the times, maybe with some delays, but we are doing this. Thank you for everyone for watching us. We reached several weeks ago. We reached the level when we have now 1,000 subscribers, and this is a big achievement for us. So we are very happy that our Fintech community, Fintech Garden community, has reached this number, and we can started to discuss more things and to provide you more information, and people started to write more to us. Me with my co-host Igor Tomic that you see in another podcast. We are very happy that we are building this kind of a project. In case of something, just reach out to us on LinkedIn because me and Igor, we can provide you a lot of good information and insights, not only during the podcast, but also in a call, in a private discussion, and we'll be happy to chit-chat. Thank you very much. Stay in touch. Have a nice day.